Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the podcast. I'm your host, AJ Love. Here to bring you your AEW Dynamite review for September 2nd, 2020. Was a pretty good show last night, the Golem show for All Out, the pay-per-view, AEW pay-per-view for Saturday, September 5th. Uh, as a Golem show should be, with adding a little element, little preview toward each match. We got some video packages. Went well for tonight. Good to be back on Wednesday. Yes, I know NXT was on Tuesday this week and will be next week, but uh, saving those for, of course, my usual Fridays. So with that, hopefully. Anyway, the show was good last night. Had some tag team matches. Had, of course, Jericho versus Janela. Um, yeah, it was some pretty good show. Uh, Along with Jon Moxley versus MJF's attorney, uh, and some bunch more. So, like I said, thank you all for joining me. Like and subscribe. Click that bell. Let's get into a review, shall we? So, the show started off with Santana Ortiz versus Best Friends. Obviously, this rivalry has been brewing for weeks. After their previous match, Santana Ortiz wrecked Trent's mom's minivan uh, and messed up their gear 1 week. Uh, just been a good, clean rivalry, I would say, between two of the best tag teams in AEW in their stacked tag team division. The match started off as it should have, with Best Friends attacking uh, Santana Ortiz before the bell. Uh, I mean, considering what has transpired leading into his match, no figure any other way. But so most of this match was spent before the bell, uh, on the outside of the ring. Uh, Got crazy. There was a chair thrown into Chuck Taylor's face, as well as he was thrown into this structure of chairs he compiled on the outside, which had to suck to land on, which took him out for a little bit. Um, then, once the match started, it kind of picked up toward the end. Uh, Chuck here, Falcon Arrow forward to uh, Trent was knocked on steel steps that he set up before the match. Uh, then at the end of the match came when Santana hit Trent in the back with a baton, with the referee uh, attention paid to Ortiz, excuse me. Uh, then Santana Ortiz hit the street sweeper, pinned Trent, 1, 2, 3 for the win. There was a weird spot in the middle of the match where I believe it was Rick Knox, the referee. He counted clearly a 3 count uh, when Trent would pin Ortiz, and well, it was actually a 3.5 count, and I don't know what happened. Ortiz, he was right next to the ropes. I don't know what happened. Uh, I'm guessing Santana did not get there in time to put Ortiz's hand on the bottom rope. But I mean, other than that, it was a solid match. Good for both teams. Good for Santana Ortiz. They have been floating around. They need momentum. Like JR said a couple weeks ago, they have not been in the top 5 since February. Now, with a win over, I believe, the number 2 ranked tag team, that should definitely propel them up the rankings and probably into the top 5. So after that, we had an update on MJF backstage. He was with his uh, faculty, per se. Uh, and he was trying to say something, and Lee Johnson told him that his attorney, Mark, locked him in the room or locked himself in the room. And he tried to talk himself out of participating in the match with Moxley. Then Wardlow, he knocked on the door and forcefully grabbed Mark Sterling, pressed him up against the wall, and MJF basically told him, I've waited my whole life to be a world champion. And if Sterling, obviously, if he doesn't show up, MJF doesn't get his title shot. Well, so MJF told him, yes, I know Moxley's a monster, but in this case, you got 2 options. You can either show up or go straight into the wood chipper. And told him, or asked him, which monster do you want to face tonight? And that was pretty much it. So then we go from that to a man tag team match. See, I love AEW's tag team division. They're very deep. They basically care more about tag team wrestling than WWE. Now, one critical part you could say is there's too many tag team matches or too many multi tag team matches, like 8-man, 6-man, 10-man. I can deal with 2-on-2, but however, this match was good. I will say that. It was SCU and Private Party versus the Young Bucks and Jurassic Express. The winners would face each other at a match at All Out. So it would either be SCU versus Private Party or Young Bucks and Jurassic Express. I think clearly you would think the better match would be Young Bucks and Private Party, or Jurassic Express. However, I wouldn't mind seeing SCU versus Private Party. This match, like I said, was good. Was a risky business combo by the Young Bucks and Jurassic Express for a 2 count. There was a neckbreaker combo by SCU, then a senton by Isaiah Cassidy. Very good senton by Isaiah on Jungle Boy for a 2 count. Jungle Boy took a bunch of damage in this match. Then Christopher Daniels hit the BME, followed by Mark Quinn's Shooting Star, which I still think is the best shooting star in the business. On Jungle Boy for 2. And then Young Bucks hit the BT trigger on Mark Quinn for the win. So again, we get Young Bucks and Jurassic Express at All Out. Should be a fun match. I would imagine that the Young Bucks will win that match, and then, well, I think FTR they'll beat Hangman and Omega. The Young Bucks will beat Jurassic Express, and then potentially at Full Gear when there's currently 10% of fans being let in attendance in Daisy's Place. So I think because Full Gear would be in November, so hopefully that would be around maybe a fourth of fans being let in attendance, and then hopefully then, or we get Young Bucks versus FTR for the tag team titles then, and that would be very good time to have it. So we go from that to a little sit down of Jake Hager. He found Orange Cassidy, and he sat down next to him, and he told him that Jericho wants Orange Cassidy ringside for his match with Joey Janela later tonight. So that was pretty simple. Orange Cassidy, nonchalant as always. So after that, we had Tully Blanchard and FTR. FTR, or Tully Blanchard, excuse me, talked about how they won the gauntlet match last week. That basically they won, so they're the number one contenders. And of course, if they lost, they would still be in the contenders race. But the end goal is to be the tag champs, which they will accomplish at All Out. And that Cash Wheeler said that their past pales in comparison to now, that their goal is to be the tag team champions. They will achieve that at All Out. Excuse me. This was good. Obviously hyping the match. And they held up, I would say, a 3 or 4 maybe symbol. So possibly teasing that 4 horseman type of stable. So speaking of that, we go to an interview of Kenny Omega. He was talking about previewing their match versus FTR at All Out. How the FTR has basically used Hangman on Page. How they will certainly bring it when it comes to their match on Saturday. And then Tully Blanchard and FTR came out with a cooler, almost as a peace offering for Kenny Omega. And Kenny Omega was like, okay, got 3-on-1. I'll mind it. Let's just fight right now. But he said, do me a favor, keep the old man away from me because I can smell his stench from right here. and that set off FTR. And then Hangman came out very slowly. He looked like he probably hasn't slept. He had this upset like makeup on his face. And then FTR was talking trash uh, to them how Hangman did his own deed, how FTR didn't influence him, how nobody influenced him except himself to do what he did last week, costing the Young Bucks, how he's been looking out for himself. And then you can still see the dissension between Hangman and Kenny. And then FTR, they offered the tag titles to Hangman. However, they dropped the titles. Hangman picked them up. Looked like he was trying to hand the belt to Kenny. However, Kenny was on the outside of the ring, basically shaking his head. Clearly, we do not know what's going to happen at All Out. I mean, maybe Hangman turns heel, maybe Kenny turns heel. I'm not sure. We don't know what's going to happen. We know that FTR will win the tag team titles, but how is the question. It will be interesting to find out. So Chris Jericho was interviewed by Alex Marvez. He talked about how he has made Orange Cassidy into who he is, how Orange Cassidy's main event star, but on Saturday he'll squash that when he throws him into a vat of mimosa, and that Joey Janela will be a sacrifice going into that match at All Out. And that was basically it. So then we had Chris Jericho versus Joey Janela. Joey Janela, it's difficult because I enjoy Joey Janela. However, as of late, he's been teaming with Sunny Kiss. It's almost like they have no direction for him at the moment. It's just so and so, but is what it is. So Chris Jericho came out with Jake Hager. Joe Janela came out by himself, but then Orange Cassidy came out sitting with a chair at ringside, right outside the barricade, and watched the match. This match was pretty short, nothing really spectacular. Jericho hit a code breaker and walked in the walls of Jericho. Janela tapped. He and Hager, he tagged Janela after the bell. Kiss tried to come in and save Janela, but to no avail. Then Orange Cassidy saw enough. Chris Jericho, he was actually wearing an Orange Cassidy shirt and put the blood that, because Janela was bleeding, he put the blood on the face of Orange Cassidy that was on his shirt. So that was a nice touch. And then he was taunting Orange Cassidy, and then Orange Cassidy came in, pretty much turned away Hager and Jericho, and then he had a bag or a backpack, and then he took out a little bit of the bubbly, and then he poured it down in the middle of the ring and did a thumbs down, which was a nice touch. I'm intrigued to see how the match unfolds on Saturday. I mean, match 1 was good at Firefest. Their second match wasn't as good. Saturday, with the right amount of time, I believe this can be their best match of the series. So, after the match, we had a promo of the match for Sammy Guevara versus Matt Hardy for their Broken Rules match that was made official at All Out. And Matt Hardy has said that if he loses to Sammy, that he will no longer see him in AEW. So I imagine Matt's going to win this. Probably has broken Matt Hardy. They actually had a trade-off of signs because Sammy has his key cards, and then Matt, I think, was on top of one of the tunnels, and he had his own little key cards going back and forth. So was fun for what it was. After that, we had this was a bit strange. It was so we had Team Taz come out. Taz, Ricky Starks, and Brian Cage. They came out, have a new theme, which I don't mind. They came out. Taz was basically trying to make his claim as to why either Brian Cage or Ricky Starks are going to win the match or Casino Battle Royal. Then Jake Roberts came out with Lance Archer trying to make his claim. And then we had Eddie Kingston and his crew come out. Then we had Tony Blanchard come out with Sean Spears. And then, as you can kind of figure, a big brawl ensued with basically all the members that are going to be in the Casino Battle Royal for Saturday. As usual, you see a bunch with WWE when a big Battle Royal comes up at the end, mostly when it comes to the Royal Rumble on the Golem Show. We have the brawl between the competitors. I mean, it's topsy-turvy. It's kind of wacky, but it was simple. I will say that. I don't think we needed it, but if it sells, I guess it sells. So after that, we had a short preview of the Dark Order versus the Natural Nightmares, Scorpio Sky, and Matt Cardona match at All Out. I'm intrigued because, well, first of all, we have not. This will be the second time we've seen Matt Cardona in a match at AEW. Scorpio Sky, I mean, he's floating around because he's apparently in his new singles role, but this is a tag team match. Natural Nightmares, of course, they're up there in the rankings, and of course, they're a part of the Nightmare family. And of course, what happened to Cody makes sense. Brody Lee, of course, I think it's going to be Brody Lee, Colt Cabana, and Stu Grayson Evil Uno. I think. Well, I'm also intrigued. What does Colt Cabana do? Because he isn't fully a member of the Dark Order. Yes, he'll be in this match, but will he turn on the Dark Order? Will he turn on Brody? Will he make a challenge? I would say for the TNT Championship. I mean, we'll see. Uh, but some little elements of intrigue coming into this 8-man tag for All Out. I guess we'll have to see what happens. So we had next up we had Thunder Rosa uh, make her AEW in-ring debut. Of course, she's the NWA women's champion. Of course, NWA is not functioning right now. They haven't really functioned since the pandemic. Um, you know, that's part of the reason why Wade Barrett is working with NXT right now as a commentator. Um, if we could see more NWA talent converge on AEW, that would be nice to get their. Because I'm not sure if their contracts have frozen or what. Because NWA is not really putting on shows at the moment. So maybe we could see more NWA talent. But this match was okay. We had Thunder Rosa versus Serena Deeb. Serena, now, a few people probably know Serena more than they do Thunder Rosa, probably because Serena, she has been in WWE. She is part of the Straight Edge Society with CM Punk and Luke Gallows, and I think it was Joey Mercury. So she's that. Of course, she had that moment of when her head was shaved when she was initiated into the society. Now she has a full head of hair again, which made her look different, obviously. But this fight, it was more of a showcase match uh, for Thunder Rosa, showing to the AEW audience what she could do before her match with Hikaru Shida at All Out. This was, I mean, I've heard about Thunder Rosa before. I've seen a couple of her highlights on NWA Power. She definitely has innovative offense. She is. It's hard to say. She has a unique moveset. Um, she won with a Thunder Driver, which she said. Apparently, it's like a sidewalk slam type of where she cradles the back of the opponent's head. Uh, it looked almost like a tombstone type of deal, but Thunder Rosa wins. You figure good for what it was. I'm intrigued to see how Thunder Rosa and Hikaru mesh together at All Out. Definitely the most intriguing women's match in AEW history so far. So, after that match, we had a short little promo of Jon Moxley backstage talking about MJF, how they have gotten to championship week, how he is not ready to give up the AEW World Championship, how they've probably been asked many questions made the same question time and time again. And Moxley basically talked about how he's not ready to let go of the world championship, and how that was basically it. So, actually, right before the match, we had a Big Swole. She was being interviewed by Tony Schiavone, and she talked about the match she picked for to face Britt Baker at All Out, and she picked a tooth and nail match. Excuse me, uh, because Britt Baker's a dentist, a real life dentist. So she said she's gonna come to her work. So I'm intrigued. If this, I don't think it's gonna be a cinematic match. Maybe I'm intrigued. Maybe it's gonna be in the dentist office or makeup. I'm not sure uh, what's gonna happen, but I'm intrigued. But afterwards, Reba, she was disguised as a pizza girl. She came in, uh, told Tony Schiavone, delivered a pizza, and she basically said it's all free or whatnot. She distracted Tony and Britt Baker, and then all of a sudden Britt Baker came, or excuse me, Big Swole, and then Britt Baker came from behind Big Swole, attacked her with a crutch, and laid out Big Swole, landed on the lockjaw of our forward Big Swole, and then stuck her face into the pizza that was in the box. There was actual pizza in the box. What a waste of good pizza. Well, it was probably good. I'm not sure, but still, waste of pizza. Uh, Britt Baker, she seemed healthy. I'm intrigued how the match is gonna go. Definitely more intrigued for Karshia and Thunder Rosa, but this match, we'll see how it goes. Apparently, it's going to be on the buy-in, so we'll see. So we get to the main event. MJF's attorney, Mark Sterling, with Wardlow versus Jon Moxley. This was, I mean, it was a gimmick match, mostly you could say. The match was mostly Jon Moxley toying with Mark Stern's lawyer. He came out in a weird suit with elbow pads and knee pads, uh, or wrestling gear. Uh, but Moxley, he was making fun of Stern's lack of wrestling skill. Uh, Moxley hit the paradigm shift, 1, 2, 3, as expected. And then after match, Wardlow came in, attacked Moxley, hit the F10 on Moxley, and then MJF came out with his walker, uh, threw the walker away, took off his neck brace, basically showing you he was okay the entire time. And then he and Wardlow put out an attack on Moxley and blade up Moxley. And then what was interesting was, so Wardlow, he had the AEW World title in his hand and he looked at it for it a few seconds and it made me think. It's like, well, then after that, MJF, he held up the world title over Moxley, but you got me thinking. Wardlow, could he be aiming to be the world champion in the future? And maybe turns on MJF in the future, probably not all out, but in the future, and goes after the World Heavyweight Championship. That was just a little tease, I think, because he didn't just hand the title to MJF. He looked at it for a few seconds. I mean, it's probably just me, but it's an interesting thing to think about. Now, when it comes to pro wrestling kind of philosophy, usually when a heel versus face title match, a heel, if he looks strong on the Go show, uh, or the babyface to end the show, usually the face will go, the babyface will go over at the pay per view. So, based on the track record, MJF is. It makes you curious. There's that possibility, certainly, that MJF could not walk out of All Out's the World Heavyweight Champion. They probably do a messy finish or something. But yeah, based on history, if the heel looks strong, the face will go over at the pay per view. So there's that. I mean, if history serves you right and Moxley does apparently retain the title, which would be kind of weird, but if Moxley does win the title or retain the title at All Out, I would think Lance Archer will win the Casino Battle Royal. However, if MJF wins, I'm going with Darby Allin to win the Battle Royal. That's what I think. People probably think otherwise. That's my opinion. Anyway, that was a review for all you. Good show. Had some flaws, but very good home show. Can't wait for All Out on Saturday. For that, well, thank you for joining me. Like and subscribe. Click that bell, and I'll see you all tomorrow.